on. One of the things that was mentioned through the last discussion was in regards to restaurants and how much they've been impacted through this. And I think we all see that, as many of our favorite restaurants have either struggled or in some cases even gone out of business. You know, one of the things that I am doing with the Small Business Development Center as an advisor is working with the restaurants in Santa Clara County in conjunction with Margaret and her group, trying to leverage those resources for restaurants. So if they are struggling, yeah, there are a lot of resources out there from the SBA and from your local small business development centers to help these individuals. Right now, we're doing a series of webinars to help with the indoor dining section or portion as we move to 25% indoor. And so if you know of a restaurant that's struggling and if you want to make sure that they are safe to have people indoor, please direct them. We're going to be doing that in conjunction with the County of Santa Clara County that has put out the guidance, and then working with different professionals to provide the resources and information to make indoor dining safe, because I think it's the way it's going to be for a while. But up next, we have, we're going to be bridging the cybersecurity gap, closing the digital divide, and could not be happier to introduce Alex Ban, who's with the City and County of San Francisco. He's with the Mayor's Office for Housing and Community Development, and he is personally responsible in San Francisco and the county for accessing, helping people to access technology and getting essential skills that they need. So if there's somebody that could help moderate a discussion on the digital divide and closing that gap, can't think of somebody better than Alex to do that. So Alex, welcome to the stage, and I'll let you introduce your panel members. Do we have Alex?
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm having a little camera issue here. Let me just try again. There we go.
Awesome. Good.
Hey.
And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you introduce your panel members.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. So, yeah, we have a great panel today to talk about closing the digital divide. We have Preston Ray from the Monkey Brains ISP that we're partnering with at the city to provide free internet access at our public and affordable housing sites. We have Orion Willis from our city and county's Office of Economic and Workforce Development to talk about the wonderful TechSF program and apprenticeships that they're doing. And we have Judy Kwang from the Chinatown Community Development Center, who's going to talk about intergenerational skill building. So, yeah, Judy, Preston, and Orion, can you all join me on stage when you get a chance?
Good morning.
Hey, morning, guys.
How are you guys?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. So, yeah, basically, we're going to give everyone an opportunity to have their own presentation. To do a deep dive into their programs, and then we're going to come together for a panel discussion followed by some audience Q&A. All right, so let me start by just doing some quick introductions and framing on this topic. And I'll just drop that on my screen here. All right. All right, so yeah, just a quick programming note. We actually had a fourth panelist, Leo Sosa from the Great Definition Program, but I just learned this morning that he's sick and he's currently recovering. So our thoughts and positive energy to Leo. I'll do my best to share a little bit about his programs as well, but yeah, he definitely would have brought a lot of energy and just excitement to it. So. Yeah, a little bit of a shame that he wasn't able to be here, but yeah, he's definitely recovering, and our thoughts out to Leo. All right, so just to get started with some framing, why are we talking about the digital divide? When this event is about smart cities and secure cities. Well, basically, I feel like conversations around smart cities often start and end with technology conversations and conversations around specific use cases, right? This is a Google image search, and we see a lot of pictures like this when we think about smart cities. We think of IoT and sensors everywhere. We think of automated transportation, smart trash cans, and smart parking lots, or residents using their smartphones for all payments and access to all types of spaces and services. All of those things are definitely exciting, but it's also important for us to think about foundational issues around equity. As we're planning out our smart city strategies, right? We should, as we're planning these things out, we should ask questions like, do all residents have the necessary access to benefit from these technologies? Do they have the necessary skills? Are these technologies developed and deployed by diverse and inclusive teams who can represent different experiences and viewpoints? And ultimately, who benefits and who is burdened by all of these changes? Because the truth is, we still have a major digital divide in all of our cities, throughout this country, right? So here's a quote from FCC Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel, that she tweeted out at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, right back in March. She said, "The coronavirus is going to expose some hard truths about the digital divide." And, as things played out since then, basically she was right? We had scenes and headlines like this, in media throughout the country. We had pictures of kids camping outside Taco Bell and McDonald's and other fast food restaurants, all day just so they could use Wi-Fi to participate in school. We had families, camp out in their cars, in parking lots at libraries just so they could use Wi-Fi. And yeah, a lot of these conversations were around, distance learning and how kids couldn't get online, right? That's been top of mind for all of us. But the other thing is, this digital divide is also going to impact folks in many other different ways, because there was this digital transformation happening across society, right? And it was happening pre-COVID, and these trends are only accelerating, right, due to the pandemic. So pre-COVID, Brookings found that 70% of all jobs across all occupations and skill levels were starting to require what they consider medium to high digital skills. We also know that 82% of all small businesses surveyed in a national survey consider technology to be key to their survival. And in healthcare, telehealth was starting to account for more and more of healthcare spending. So pre-COVID, it was accounting for $3 billion in total healthcare spending. And since COVID, right, these trends have just accelerated and exploded. So in terms of work, 74% of all companies now plan to permanently shift to more remote work post-COVID. So not only do you now need digital skills, you also need robust internet connectivity and access at home, right, to keep your employment. With small businesses, we found that businesses without e-commerce presence were twice as likely to close during the pandemic. And in healthcare, we're going from 3 billion to now 250 billion. Is the latest projection from McKinsey for telehealth, right? And during the pandemic, 80 new services were allowed by the major healthcare insurance companies, including Medicare, to be conducted via telehealth. All right, so we're seeing these dramatic changes, and they're only going to exacerbate, the impact of the digital divide. So, we definitely have to work to bridge these gaps. And even in a tech-centric city like ours in San Francisco, we're still seeing these issues. We still have a digital divide in terms of both access and skills. So according to our research, in our city of about 900,000 people, about 1 in 8 residents lack high-speed home internet, and about 1 in 7 lack basic digital literacy, like the ability to fill an online form or, just send out email. And most at risk are low-income residents and families, our seniors, residents with limited English proficiency, and people with disabilities. And we've also found that there's a cybersecurity gap as well, right? So even for the folks within these at-risk groups who are online, they're more likely to experience loss of money or identity information from cyber scams. They're also more likely to report low levels of online safety, knowledge, and confidence, and a reluctance to use potentially beneficial online services like banking because of security concerns. So yeah, a lot of scholars are calling cybersecurity the next digital divide. And one of our former interns, did an in-depth study on this, and he published it at UC Berkeley's Center for Long-Term Cybersecurity a couple of years ago. All right, so to address all these issues, last year, pre-pandemic, our city put out a digital equity strategic plan, and we set this vision for digital equity. Right, we're working towards full and equitable access to digital technology and its benefits, so all of our residents and communities can thrive regardless of their demographics. So there's a citywide plan. Many different departments are working on this, and many different stakeholders and community partners. And we're working on all elements of digital equity, right? There's this common metaphor of a three-legged stool when it comes to this stuff. And, we definitely support this idea, right? When we're talking about digital equity and digital inclusion, we can't just talk about internet access, right? And that, again, that's usually where the conversation starts and ends. That's important, right? We want to make sure everyone has high quality, reliable, and affordable internet, but that's just one leg of the stool. Equally important are, is make sure everyone has appropriate devices, right? We don't want kids doing their homework on smartphones. We don't want, our job-seeking adults to participate in job training or have to create resumes and all that, just from a smartphone. And we also want to make sure everyone, is building, has that digital literacy and those digital skills that they're going to need, right? So we have many different programs that work across the spectrum of digital literacy from basic to advanced. And, our Office of Economic and Workforce Development are, working to prepare our residents for the jobs of the future. And, Orion Willis, one of our great panelists, is going to talk about all the work that they're doing on that front. So yeah, some of our programs that we'll be talking about today are, free high-speed internet connectivity program at affordable housing sites. So yeah, through a partnership between the city and a local ISP, Monkey Brains, we're providing, super fast gig speed internet in most cases, to our residents. And this was a speed test that I conducted, through a Wi-Fi router. And yeah, this is 374 by 300 by 309 speeds, and residents can sign on as many devices as they want. They can have as many streams. They can do multiple Zoom sessions for class, and the parents can go online and do whatever they need to do at the same time without experiencing any issues. And that's definitely what we want to see. We also have a computer refurbishment and distribution program, where we partnered with Dev Mission, who has a great youth-led model where they're learning tech skills, and then as part of their kind of service learning component, they're refurbishing donated hardware from companies like Uber and Twitter, and they're working with us to distribute them back out into the community. And we have a variety of digital literacy and tech career prep programs for everyone from youth to seniors across San Francisco. So yeah, let me just wrap up real quick by sharing a little bit about our COVID-19 specific digital response. So since the onset of the pandemic, we've worked to rapidly install more Wi-Fi at a number of family housing communities. We've also connected many of our community learning hubs. So this was a new initiative that we rolled out, at the start of this fall semester as a city, where a lot of families, a lot of kids don't have good learning environments at home, right? If you're considering not just Wi-Fi and computers, but also just having a good space to work. So yeah, the city opened many centers where kids can come to with physical distancing in place and participate in their distance learning that way. And as a city, we work to hook up those centers to high-speed internet to support all that. We've also scaled up our tech support and our computer distribution activities, and our school district has been great in distributing hotspots and Chromebooks, throughout its student base. All right, so that's just a little bit of framing and intro. Our great panelists today are going to share much more about their programs, and basically our idea here is to maybe spark some ideas amongst the audience. get the audience thinking about some ways that they can contribute to this work or ways that they can benefit from this work. All right. So yeah, with that said, let me introduce Preston Ray from Monkey Brains, who's going to talk about our fiber to housing partnership.
Thank you, Alex, for that. Good morning / afternoon, depending on who you are, everyone. My name is Preston Ray. I am the Director of Engineering for the Policy Program at Monkey Brains, which is just a local ISP in San Francisco that is known as a WISP, a wireless internet service provider, because much of our distribution is over point-to-point and point-to-multipoint rooftop radio. But
depending on who you are, everyone,
everything goes back to fiber.
I am the Director of Engineering for the Policy Program at Monkey Brains, which is
we're going to talk about today.
a
Sorry, I'm getting
ISP
feedback in
San
my own
Francisco,
ear. Is anybody else getting a double echo?
is known as a WISP, a wireless internet service
I don't quite know how to
provider,
stop
much
that.
of our distribution is
Oh, perfect. There we go. Okay. Great. So Fiber to Housing is a program that Monkey Brains is proud to have partnered with two different agencies in the city and county of San Francisco on, which is the Department of Technology and the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development. And there's also a partnership here with affordable housing providers that actually construct, own, and manage the affordable housing buildings in San Francisco. The gist of Fiber to Housing is basically laid out right here. The Department of Technology builds and connects public fiber to the main point of entry or to the street enclosure outside of large affordable housing buildings. The Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, which is involved in providing funding, financing, and kind of standards guidance for a lot of these affordable housing properties, works with the developers or the redevelopers, depending on the property in question, to ensure that there is a modern wiring standard applied in the building that MOHCD has developed. And in the presence of that wiring standard and the fiber, Alex's digital equity program can hand out wireless routers to residents, which he showed you the excellent speed tests on those. And Monkey Brains simply acts as the internet service provider to put in ISP switching in the building. And since all of the nice work has been done to make the wiring really up to date, well connectorized, the fiber is there and connectorized, all we have to do is plug those into our switch in the IMPO, and every single unit in that building has gigabit or near gigabit speeds available to them by simply plugging in any router of their choice. So this diagram shows you a little bit more about what that looks like. And I do want to get into the technical nitty gritty here, because it's kind of working out these details that makes this program so interesting. A lot of people over the decades have been like, man, why can't they just make the internet, free for everyone? Or why can't it just be this easy to do it? Well, there are ways you can do that from a technical perspective, and it's not in the financial interest of certain large incumbent ISPs to do it that way. They have billions and billions of dollars of plant throughout regions of the country or through cities or through the, they've basically carved up a lot of the country into their own fiefdoms, where their mode of transmission is the only way to get into buildings. And then, of course, they can charge you largely what they want to use their service. But as a smaller ISP that works really hard to find any way possible into people's units in the Bay Area, Monkey Brains worked closely with MOHCD and with DT to find a way to make it super, super, super easy to provide internet to any unit in this housing. And for us, we don't feel like we need to own the main fiber mode of transmission. We actually like to see this public fiber built as a way to improve internet access throughout the region. And likewise, MOHCD, having developed this standard, which is, as you can see from this, is Cat 6 or Cat 5 to every unit, terminated at gigabit. It makes it super easy for us or any other ISP to simply put in our switch in the main point of entry, literally just plug in one cable into the fiber, a fiber patch cable, and just plug in to every label unit on the Cat 6 block, and that's it. That's maybe an hour of work, if that. And having done that, that lights the fiber up at the data center. It lights the fiber to the main point of entry. And now every unit has live internet. And of course, Alex's program does hand out free routers, but these residents can use any router that they choose as long as it's a standard Ethernet router like you might use. This was really important for us to develop, not only from a management perspective as an ISP, because it's uniformity of service, but also because I believe that most everybody on this presentation today who's sitting in this conference, if you get internet at your home, you want the right or the ability to distribute the internet in your own unit or in your own home the way you want to with your router, and you don't want to have to call up an ISP every time something happens to your router. We believe that people living in affordable housing should have the same consideration and the same flexibility and freedom that anybody else does. And of course, there's other programs as well that are highly means tested that require people to sign a bunch of forms and not have debt with existing companies. But if you're living in an affordable housing building, you've already gone through a bit of means testing to get in that building. So we think that a basic infrastructural standard that provides the best possible internet that you could enjoy in even the best luxury housing apartment is the right way to go for equity. What's also amazing is that all of these buildings are on fiber that is owned by the city, but we're able to do all of this at dozens of sites with just a single ring. Basically, it's a single pair of fiber that goes in a ring throughout the city of San Francisco. We use wave multiplexing to put a bunch of different wavelengths on that single pair of fiber. And of course, the great thing about fiber is that the endpoints are endlessly upgradable. We're really excited to see the city investing in building this public asset that is permanent. And as time goes on, we can just keep swapping out the endpoints of the fiber, the SFPs that's at the data center and that's at the IMPO, and 10 gigabits becomes 40 gigabits, becomes 100 gigabits, so on and so forth as time goes on, and the fiber is permanently usable. And of course, the ring makes sure that things are stable and redundant, so if something goes out at one site, it still operates for the other sites. The result of all of this is that low-income residents in these affordable housing buildings have reliable gigabit internet speeds through their walls and through their Wi-Fi routers. We're currently at about 36 sites with over 5,000 units of affordable housing connected in the city and county of San Francisco. And most importantly, this does not cost the residents anything at all. The model works at all of these levels. So we, of course, it benefits directly the folks who are living already in affordable housing. It's not kind of a crapshoot of throwing spaghetti at the wall. It encourages construction of public fiber to already low-income areas, which improves the quality of internet that is in the surrounding neighborhood, not just in the building. That reduces the cost of service for internet providers and customers. Monkey Brains is able to do this effectively pilot program for no consideration to Monkey Brains right now because of the baked-in infrastructural work that DT and the housing provider has done with the wiring. And the city, as it continues to build out this fiber plant, can eventually turn around and earn some revenue from the fiber in the future, whether it's leasing it out to ISPs or to so-called 5G operators. It, of course, can provide a new point of presence for ISPs based on where the fiber terminates. And crucially, as Alex has already discussed, it can provide more command and control for city programs to deliver direct benefits to residents who are on this public infrastructure, providing high-quality internet. The program has been well recognized over the last couple of years it's existed. As you can see, San Francisco's Mayor, London Breed, has already praised the fiber to housing program. I think she communicated this at the opening of one of the largest fiber to housing properties, the Hunters Point East, West, and Westbrook Apartments, which is hundreds and hundreds of units of affordable housing that were renovated in the southeast part of the city. We've also had recognition from major policy outlets like the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, which did a deep dive on the origins of the program, which I highly recommend everyone check out this report. It kind of details how you might start a fiber to housing program in your own city. And we've also been profiled in SF Weekly, not just fiber to housing, but some other affordable internet efforts in San Francisco. This was done maybe a little over a year ago when we weren't yet serving 5,000 folks, but I want to call out this line. The city estimates that the project is going to provide a service benefit of some $400 million over 20 years. It works to build public infrastructure and invest directly in people being connected. that's the program. Just a quick note about Monkey Brains. We're an internet service provider that was founded in San Francisco a little over 20 years ago. We use, as I pointed out, a combo of wired and wireless data infrastructure. We've got over 13,000 points of presence, about 50,000 users in the Bay Area and growing. This number is a little outdated from the previous one, but yes, we're providing thousands and thousands of low-income units with high-speed internet using public fiber, and we are serving all kinds of different organizations, businesses, and we're expanding throughout the Bay Area. It's been a pleasure to talk with you this morning. If you want to reach out to me, you can find my email there, preston@monkeybrains.net. And I do hope you all check out our little ISP in San Francisco, whether it's remotely or next time you're visiting.
Awesome. Thanks, Preston. Next up, I'd like to welcome Orion Willis to talk about our Tech SF programs here in San Francisco.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to try to get my slides up here. Can everybody see those slides now? Alex?
Not yet, Orion.
Not yet. All right. One more try. Here we go. How's that?
There we go. Now we see it.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. First off, my name is Orion Willis. I work for the Office of Economic and Workforce Development here in San Francisco. I work on a team called Tech SF, where we fund a series of local tech training programs with the intent of upskilling people and getting them prepared for careers in technology. Tech SF was started back in 2012 by Mayor Ed Lee. It was essentially in response to the growth of the tech industry locally, but there was not a lot of opportunity trickling down to locals graduating from Unified School District, our city colleges, and enrolled in our workforce development programs. We had three initial, are the slides showing up right? Sorry. We had three initial intents with the program. It was essentially to provide more access to technology, provide access to tech training for free, and to help address the opportunity gap for local businesses. A lot of businesses had been telling us that there was a skills gap, there was not a quality pipeline locally, and we wanted to address that by presenting a diverse and qualified talent pool through Tech SF. So today we have about 9 different tech training programs that we fund. One of them, Dev Mission, couldn't join us on this panel today, but we're going to go over some of the work that we've done with them in collaboration with Monkey Brains shortly. So this slide just kind of further drills down on the motivations to start Tech SF. You know, everybody understands that there's a lack of diversity in tech across racial and gender lines. But what's disheartening is that it's much worse here in the Bay Area. So we have the least diverse tech workforce of any major tech hub in the country. That's unacceptable to our mayor. It's unacceptable to our community, and it's unacceptable to our industry leaders. So a lot of companies that we work with have adopted diversity and inclusion strategies, and one way that we've tried to kind of support them is through our Tech SF initiative. So as you can see, nationally these numbers are a little dated, but they remain fairly static over the last 4 years. Nationally, you see about 7% Black folks working in tech, 14% Asian American, 8% Latinx. And how that compares to the Bay Area is 3% Black, 32% Asian American, and 7% Latinx, with a majority of men working in tech nationally, and that's the same for here in the Bay Area. This is a snapshot of our placement data. So, you know, going back to this first slide, you know, I wanted to capture that over the last 8 years, we've placed a little more than 3,000 people into paid internships or employment opportunities in the tech sector. And this is a breakdown of those placements. So as you can see, 14% Black, 22% Asian, 18% Latinx, and we have basically full gender parity across our placements, which, as you can imagine, is far more diverse than what you're going to see here. And you know, so one of the things that has been kind of, you know, both, we're excited about those placements, right? There's 3,000 people out there who weren't going to land in tech otherwise. But we do have a segment of our job seekers who are not picked up and are not employed for whatever reason. And one of the reasons is that, you know, in tech, we call it like the proxy problem. If you don't have a bachelor's degree or you don't have professional experience in tech, the proxies that are used for aptitude, you're not going to be extended an opportunity. And one remedy to that we found is registered apprenticeship. So a few years ago, our team went out and applied for a grant from the Department of Labor to help local companies institute registered apprenticeship models that essentially hire people based on their aptitude and their attitude, and not, you know, whether or not they've completed a 4-year degree or have professional experience in tech. The model has been successful so far through our office, but nationally it also has really strong data that supports it should be further adopted. So 91% of apprentices retain employment with their host employers after the first 2 years. And for every dollar that you spend on registered apprenticeship, you're typically going to see about $1.47 ROI. And that is due to decreased attrition. And at the end of the day, when you have a more diverse workforce, which apprenticeship allows you to do, you're going to bring in diversity of thought, diversity, you know, of age, gender, race. You're going to have more innovative products. And so one of the mantras that we like to say is that diversity equals dividends. And if companies are employing, you know, risk-averse hiring models that do not allow them to include a larger diverse pool of candidates, they're going to see less return on those investments. And of course, with any new hires, you're going to have disruption costs. Registered apprenticeship does take some investment, but the companies that we have partnered with on the model have all since come back and backfilled those apprenticeship slots once they promote them to permanent employment. Monkey Brains, Preston, thank you so much, has been one of our most recent adopters and is now looking to hire some support technicians from the community. They want to interview folks who went through Dev Mission. And so we're extremely excited and appreciative of that. A little more about how our apprenticeship program works. So we work with companies to basically identify, you know, which role is appropriate for apprenticeship based on how many other folks within their workforce they have that could provide mentorship. Do they have a head count to hire for it? We design where those apprentices will take what's called their related instruction. So all of the courses that they're going to take to help them move through certain competencies of on-the-job learning. We support these companies with a local talent pool that's diverse. We support these companies through the entire onboard process. There's a little bit of paperwork that we have to complete, and and used to register both the program and the apprentices with the Department of Labor so that the apprentices can receive a credential at the end of it. That credential, we really feel that one day, as registered apprenticeship really catches on, we'll start to carry as much currency on the labor market as a bachelor's degree, because what we're seeing is that somebody who completes a registered apprenticeship program is more proficient at that role than somebody who's just completed college. And that's been across all of the different occupations that we apprentice for. And at the end of the day, more than 90% of those apprentices at the companies we partner with are going to stick around. There is a level of loyalty that's developed through a registered apprenticeship program that's unbeatable. And again, those apprentices receive a credential that follows them around for the rest of their careers. And lastly, our office is able to provide up to $5,000 in reimbursements per apprentice hired. So we reimburse for some of the training on the job and some of the training that they're going to take through either online courses or at a city college, etc. These are the different occupations that we are currently apprenticing, and these are a couple of our local partners. And this is our first big adopter, Twilio. So Twilio, about 1.5 years ago, decided that they wanted to convert their existing apprenticeship program called Hatch into a registered apprenticeship program. They did that for several reasons. A lot of it was what I just mentioned around the credentials for apprentices, the incentives or the reimbursements that we're able to provide Twilio for the registered apprenticeship program. And they really saw this as expanding the local talent pool, because boot camps and colleges are not graduating people at a fast enough rate to meet local demands. And so they've committed to apprenticing 100 people who do not have computer science degrees. And they've been sourcing through TechSF. And of the 28 apprentices that they've employed so far, I believe 27 of them are still with the company. So they're seeing really good results there. And that is the end of it. I'd like to hand it back to Alex, and I look forward to questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Orion. I'd like to welcome our last presenter, Judy Quang from the Chinatown Community Development Center. Take it away, Judy.
All right. Sorry. Somehow the slides are, there we go. Well, thank you for everyone for having me on stage right here. My name is Judy. I'm the Youth Program Manager at the Chinatown Community Development Center. Today, well, the previous speakers really talked about a lot of techs, Wi-Fi, and programs. I'm here to talk about our youth programs who have been doing a lot of intergenerational activities with seniors in San Francisco, Chinatown. Our youth programs has 3 components: service learning, youth advocacy, as well as education and awareness. Our digital program really started about 10 years ago when we were exploring, also coming with the term with aging in place. Because as Chinatown CDC is affordable housing, we own and manage some senior housings, and we have been working with our resident services coordinators, really identify what is aging in place and how can we have our seniors age in place gracefully. And that we have integrated our youth programs to serve these populations and providing them monthly activities, craft, events, and later on, really when as as we were progressing with technology and internet, also QQ in China became popular. A lot of us seniors and families started wanting to learn how to do what they can connect with their families, and that interest has grew. And we actually started, that became, how do we teach seniors to use computer? It's what be very challenging. How do we do that? Our solution was really to utilize our youth programs, who has been for about 30 years, and our models is youth runs, youth led, meaning that we let our youth own the program, and they designed, plan, and execute information. So with that, we basically started with desktop. It was a pain in the beginning because they were very old desktop that were running really slow. At the same time, when teaching seniors how to use desktop, the most difficult thing was this mouse. It was really hard for them to navigate and move around. And then later on, we moved on to laptop. It was better, but then, typing became an issue because we can show you can click, you can touch screen, but then how do you search? How do you navigate away from one place to another? That became another challenge until we were able to start investing in iPads, that we were able to really truly engage our seniors in digital literacy, having them able to touch the screen, hold it, write it, do voice command, and everything became a very much possibility during that. And especially moving on to that progressively, our seniors also embracing technology much more, that they are carrying with their smartphones. So I think now that in 10 years, we truly can say that we have a really intergeneration digital hub here. Some of the challenges that we, a lot of time when working with technology, with different age groups, with language barrier, a lot of that seems very impossible. It's a lot of that when it comes to our youth programs, and working models really challenge the perceived impossibilities and taking it step by step and how to make it possible. A lot that had to do a lot with scaffolding, working with our young people, scaffolding how to teach, empowering them to think outside the box, and challenging them to really to think and how to do step by step on what could be done. So a lot of that, including them creating their own manuals, screenshotting, planning the lessons, and teaching, evaluating themselves so that they learn every time. And then lastly is really the success of the program is believe and invest in our young people so that they can continue to do the work because there are a workforce right here. A lot of change. Since the COVID, we have to shift to distant learning and community engagement. It was a challenge in the beginning. First, we also have to, with our youth having shifting for our meetings and workshops and everything online was pretty seamless. But then when we were stuck for a while, how do we continue to do community engagement when we cannot be in person? So that have really initiated a lot of our cross-collaboration partnership with our community organizers, resident services coordinators who already have the relationship with the seniors of the families to start activating certain virtual program. A lot of that relied on our youth to create infographics, setting them in advance, teaching them, sending these infographics events, helping them to have a manual kind of situation so they can log in and do many things themselves, utilizing WeChat, WhatsApp, and different groups chat for reaching out and doing education when it comes to educational materials. A lot of that shifted to everything would be now as virtual tour. We have an alleyway tour is virtual. We started virtual tutoring for some of the kids who live in SROs. SROs are single room occupancy hotels in Chinatown that are as small as 8 by 10. They have communal kitchens, communal bathrooms, and families of 3, 4, more, and possibly more can live in one room dorm-like unit. And that distance learning has been challenging. So our high school youth have been providing tutoring to them, as well as doing family engagement events like bingos, using Bingo Bigger. On the bottom of the page is that that's with the families. And then above, we've also, with our different teams of people working with, we're able to have other teams who work with the seniors, teach them lend them iPads, download a Zoom, taught them how to log in and everything, log in, how to turn on camera, voice and everything. This senior leadership group's actually able to host bi-weekly leadership meetings. And we're also as well able to go into those, able to have, with those skills, we're able to do bingo with them via Zoom. They can't use technology, so the seniors actually wrote her own bingo sheet because she forgot to pick up her bingo packet. As well, we are starting to do virtual STEM activity with our families, with the kids. So a lot of that a lot of the activities really shifted towards virtual. But then, a lot of that, the possibilities working is because we have very different layers of staff and youth working at different stages to help people get familiar with the technology, familiar with the program, and as well as guiding them through the process how to come onto Zoom and do different activity with us. Lastly, I'm gonna also share the Minecraft. What is Minecraft? What does this have to do with everything that I'm talking about? Because as long as we're shifting, and then it's a challenge, but as well as a learning opportunity. As I mentioned, one of the program is really about giving tours of Chinatown. Because with COVID, we can't be in person, so that kind of challenged us how do we continue to give tours, and how do we continue to do events? Sorry, let's see, I've lost my, let's see, I'm trying to pull up the Minecraft. Give me a moment right here. I'm just going to share my entire screen just so maybe hopefully that will be, I can just do it that way. If you are you able to see?
We can see Minecraft now.
Great, thank you. Because once I go full screen, I can't see the screen. I don't know what's going on. All right, so with that, I was explaining how we can't do tours. We're able to, we're able to utilize our young people's talent and skills where they've been playing. This has actually been inspired by UC Berkeley back in March, I believe, when it was just quite certain that graduations will not be happening in person. Therefore, they built a graduation, the UC Berkeley graduation site. And we were inspired at that point, and also to really make that happen for a high school youth who has lost their and not able to go to prom, will not be able to participate in their own graduations after 4 years. So we were in about a week or two. We built our own youth center and hosted a ceremony right here. With that, we're also learning now. Try to see how we can utilize our youth talent, and then able to for them to use Minecraft and to create Chinatown that later on we can actually. Sorry if I'm making y'all dizzy. Let's try to walk faster. So that we can actually bring the virtual world to a more three-dimensional, and when it comes to tours, it's not just a PowerPoint presentation, and then we call it a virtual tour, but that you can actually see. As you can see, our young people are able to pixelate a lot the murals and to live pictures right here. This is also right here supposed to be a Miro, but they haven't done it. So this is the difference between the one that's not been done and also what they can able to do. So with that, this is how we are pivoting ourselves, moving forward with different age group being at home, continue to do community engagement and using and to have this to take this as a learning opportunity to challenge yourself and to go beyond. So with that, I think my time is over.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Judy. All right. So, yeah, let's jump into a panel discussion. We have a couple of minutes left. Real quick, we have a couple of questions from the audience. Preston, several members of the audience wanted to get more information on, how they could set this up in other areas, a program like fiber to housing. What's your advice for them?
Step one, build public fiber. Monkey Brains is an interesting independent ISP, right? And a lot of the country doesn't have independent ISPs, which is unfortunate. But really, what we've done with the program and what I tried to illustrate with the slides, which I'm happy to, if anyone wants to drop their email in the comments, I'm happy to send it to you. And again, my email address is preston@monkeybrains.net, is basically what we've developed is a programmatic model that involves a wiring standard and involves public investment by your local county or city or state to build fiber, and then just the participation of service providers. I do think that there is an amount of, if you build it, they will come. And one thing that I encourage folks to ask about as well is that the Mayor's Office of Housing has this wiring standard, which if you inquire about it, you might find a way to make it to release it and see exactly how you should build your buildings in order to make sure that there's no disparity of access within your buildings once you've built them. But I think that in the presence of these factors, constructing public fiber that is accessible and open that you can sell to qualified providers, therefore get revenue for your local government off this fiber, and ensuring that you have standard modes of access within your buildings, you have a lot of the pieces necessary to then attract providers like Monkey Brains to provide internet service. But again, I will say one more time, build public fiber, invest in public infrastructure, and turn around the otherwise decaying interest in public infrastructure that we've seen in the last several decades in this country.
Someone in the audience mentioned ageism, right, as another kind of diversity and inclusion issue with the tech industry. How's TechSF dealing with ageism?
Yeah, I think so. Through apprenticeship, I think again there's an opportunity for a lot of the return to work ships. Apprenticeship is just a holistic on-ramp for anybody of any age or any background to really master a certain skill set. I think, unfortunately, ageism is very prevalent in a lot of industries these days. And, our target populations for training folks in TechSF are women, people of color, people with disabilities, just folks that are underrepresented in tech. So that's who you're going to see enrolled in our programs. And again, I think apprenticeship is really the easiest way for anyone without a ton of experience or advanced education in technology to step into a great career in tech.
Got it. Thanks, Orion. So yeah, those are some of the audience questions that I've highlighted. Members of the audience, feel free to ask more. Put more in the chat. But I have a couple of questions I wanted to throw at y'all. Number one, this event is about smart and secure cities. So how does cybersecurity fit into your work? In other words, how are your programs helping to make our communities and our residents more cyber secure? And anyone can take this question.
I can take this one for now. First, I guess, for our seniors, even my mom, who likes to check on WeChat, likes to click on any links that's sent over. So a lot of that, there's a lot of cross sharing, but they don't know what they're sharing as well. So those are things that even with that, a part of our, when we are used to do their classes and working with the seniors, they do a lot of that on reminding them about one course where we do with our adults, really identify what is a verified message and the sources that you can trust. And because a lot of time I see this as interesting, I share it, and then people take it as something that is gold and is real. So that's something that we've been touching with our adults population as well as senior population when we do our classes.
Great, thanks, Judy. Anyone else? How are your programs helping make our communities more cyber secure?
I mean, our programs are providing we start with basic digital literacy and then all the way up to, advanced skills in programming, et cetera. But we're providing training for a lot of folks who otherwise wouldn't get it. And some of those students go on to, higher education or jobs outside of tech. But the fact that they are now more digitally proficient really helps them be more secure. So that's just one of the ways that TechSF is doing it. Outside of that, we do have a cybersecurity apprenticeship program that we partner with the City College of San Francisco. And that's helping our local companies be more secure.
Awesome. Thanks, Orion. Preston, you want to chime in on this?
Sure. I think that, as an ISP, we have to have security is something that users and customers, you don't want to think about it, right? Security is a problem when you have to think about it. So we build our network to be secure from the start. People always ask about like passwords and firewalls, but all of these things are really for us baked in from the beginning, and it's why we have so many like top tier business customers as well as large apartment buildings that have their own internal networks off of our service successfully. So, I think that there's part of it is just making sure that people don't have to worry about this sort of stuff. You often get into this worry where people are like, oh no, is my Wi-Fi going to mean I'm going to be hacked? And it's generally, not the case. But people are understandably concerned because a lot of the problems that do come with interacting online are less about, do you have a password on your Wi-Fi? And they're more about like, is someone going to like get your phone number and call you and try and sell you scam insurance or something like this, or try and spam your grandparents with, bad investment opportunities. So I think that what's hopeful for me is that in a lot of these housing communities, that universal availability of this kind of infrastructure allows people to kind of communicate with each other around using it and share their best practices and share how they keep themselves and their relatives and their families safe, not from like the scary things that live on the internet, but building networks of trust within their community, their real world community that they live in the building, and their families who may live far away that they use the internet to do video calls with or what have you, to use best practices. Digital literacy is a skill that is developed as much as reading and as much as writing is, and it starts with having clean and clear access to the internet. So I hope that we're providing that from the start.
great points. Here's a question from Lan to everyone. Are you trying to, or are you hoping to scale your programs? And if you are, what are some of the biggest challenges for scaling up?
Yeah, I mean, with Tech SF and apprenticeship, we are definitely trying to scale our programs. Right now in California, we see that more than 60% of high school students are not going to go on and receive a 4-year degree. And so again, if that is the proxy that industry is using for aptitude, that means that all of those kids are not going to end up in, you know, middle skilled jobs, new collar jobs without, you know, coming back to workforce development programs later in life, maybe enrolling in an apprenticeship program later in life. The average age of an apprentice in California is 29. We'd like to start apprenticing people much younger than that. We really see this as a part of how we're going to recover from COVID. I mean, you know, we're not developing enough talent. And we see apprenticeship as one of the ways. It's not the silver bullet, but it's one of the ways that will help those 60% of high school students who will not get a college degree break into a self-sufficient wage someday. So we are definitely trying to scale. Some of the challenges, again, are that companies move too quickly and they have those risk-averse hiring practices, and it's hard for them to slow down and say, yeah, let's invest in this model. It's kind of more of a long game. It's not like we're going to hire someone now who can hit the ground running. It's hiring somebody or a cohort of folks that a year from now will be fully proficient. So it's hard for businesses to make that investment. But as the data that we're collecting around those companies who have adopted it are saying that was worth it and we're going to double down on it, it's helping to really sell the model for us. Yeah, so I'm happy to share my contact information because I'd love to talk to any employers listening in on how we might be able to help you adopt apprenticeship.
Great, thanks, Orion. Others, how are you trying to scale up? And if so, what are some of the biggest challenges?
I love talking to cities accessible to Monkey Brains or otherwise about, you know, how to build this public infrastructure in such a way that ISPs will use it. I think it's extremely important. There's some good scholarship out there, especially by noted Harvard economist Susan Crawford, about the extreme importance of building fiber now quickly. And, you know, I've tried with the slides that I made to show, you know, all of the pieces necessary to make such a program work. So, and as Alex knows, you know, I'm constantly spurring to say, like, what are the more buildings we can get on? What are the different kinds of properties we can get on? How can we keep hooking up more and more affordable housing properties or more with public fiber?
With us right now, scale and up meetings, really meaning about working with our community organizers and resident service coordinators to work with the seniors and families first, because if, for example, right now for our bingo, we have about 8 seniors who come, but a lot of that, because these seniors already have the technology, they already have an iPad, they have someone help them connect with internet and been assisting them in that kind of stuff. So to scale up in this time for us is really about a multi-layer of education and hand-holding before it comes to us to do community engagement. So even for right now, one of our resident coordinators is working with her seniors how to use WeChat, knowing where they won't be able to use Zoom to do face-to-face, but perhaps we can do a group chat instead and voice, and able to still do that kind of community engagement where there's a group of us here talking and sharing, and not just having one-on-one wellness check, but able to do some activity even with voice. So a lot of that, I think, as we are trying different ways and being creative or scaling as we're going, as we're learning as well.
Hey, Judy, real quick, there are a lot of great comments and positive comments about the Minecraft tours in the chat. What's your plan for making those tours public?
So we have actually before Minecraft happened, we tried the using PowerPoint and Google Earth to do tours of Chinatown. The turnout was good, but then it wasn't as innovative as to have someone actually able to be in part of a world that you can walk. So the plan is that as we are inviting different guests to take part in the tour, to give us feedback about the transitions of downloading Minecraft into the system if they don't have it, and using one of our accounts and how they learn to navigate. So what we've been testing out is that we sent just infographics as how to, even if you don't know how to use Minecraft, that's fine, because just like me, I actually don't know Minecraft at all. I just know how to walk. So just to have that kind of information out there, then people can take part in the tour with us and going around Chinatown. The cool thing as well is that our youth were able to integrate a lot of the new elements into the world as Chinatown is changing, or that we want to celebrate a certain holiday. So when I first showed the beginning of the park, it was a lot of lanterns. That was actually the celebration of the Mid-Autumn Festival. And then when it comes to different themes, so eventually, I guess in short, to answer your question, Alex, is that we're doing very selective tours with our guests first before we open to the public, so that we can have smoother transitions and able to, because it takes a lot of time and a certain population to those who really want, those know Minecraft and technology is easy, but those who do not and want to take part will need a little bit hand holding first.
Got it. Thanks. Yeah, I was able to take part in one of those demo tours, and it was a great experience. So I highly encourage you all to make it public, when you're ready, and just allow people to take a look at the creativity and all the work that your youth put in. It's awesome. All right, so we only have a couple of minutes left. How about I give you guys an option? There's two questions that I wanted to ask, and each person can pick one of the two to answer. So the first question is, what's your advice to other cities and communities who are trying to close the digital divide? Preston, I think I might know your answer to that. So let me just give you the second one. What is your call to action for our audience today? All right, so either advice for other communities or call to action.
Sure, I guess I'll take the second one. My call to action is don't wait. Find willing partners and build something, build anything. Don't ask permission. Don't try to do too much. You need it to be democratic and you need it to be community involved, but you also need to make something basic, prototypical happen. If you have any idea, whether it's getting a single building online, whether it's making Wi-Fi in an underserved neighborhood park, or where people tend to go on the weekends, to grill out or whatever it is, getting that area online and having some kind of collective internet presence there. Just do it first. Show that you can do it. And then that group of people who has shown that you can do it, and that group of organizations, agencies, whatever, can move forward and point out what you've done rather than talking about what you're going to do.
Yeah, I would just say that call to action would be, just take a look in the mirror at your talent acquisition and kind of community engagement efforts, and see if there are opportunities to maybe not employ apprentices. Maybe that's not something you have the headcount for, but if you can implement more volunteerism opportunities to provide work-based learning for locals, it really goes a long way. I mean, right now in the economy, if you don't have social capital, you don't have linkages to industry, the likelihood of getting an interview, of breaking into the market is pretty slim. And in cybersecurity, there is just such a shortage of folks with interest in the career path, with the skills or credentials. We really need more companies to partner with city and nonprofit programs to help locals gain that social capital. So we're around to support you on that. That's what my call to action would be. Just, don't try to go about this alone. You have partners, being the city and local nonprofit partners.
I guess as a youth program manager, my call to action is to believe in our young people and invest in our young people as well, because they are multi-talented. And then when we give them ownership, there are many things they could do, and there's many surprises that come yet if we were to invest in them, help them grow. At the same time, I said these challenges that we face is the learning opportunities. A lot of that is just trying to be creative and innovative in a time right now that we can learn. And yes, invest in young people.
Well said. All right. Thanks, everyone. My dogs are going crazy in the background, so it's probably time for us to go. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining the panel.